I accidentally sent a gym selfie to the hottest bad boy in school, and now I'm in trouble. My name is Liam Carter. I'm 19, and a freshman at a small university in the suburbs. I live with my parents, who are super traditional and religious. Growing up, I was always taught that a normal family consisted of a man and a woman. I never really questioned it, because I never thought I'd be into guys. But then, this happened. I accidentally sent a pretty risque picture of myself to Tyler Monroe, the most popular bad boy in school. He's not just known for his good looks with messy brown hair and piercing blue eyes, but also for his complete confidence. Tyler's the kind of person everyone wants to know, but nobody dares get too close unless they want to be overwhelmed by his arrogant swagger. And, more importantly, Tyler is openly gay. And me? Definitely not. But wait, how did I even send a picture to him in the first place? It all started late one night. Around 11:30 p.m. I had just gotten back from the gym, still riding the high of seeing my muscles more defined than ever. Standing in front of the mirror, I decided to snap a selfie to show off my progress. It was just to show Lucas, my best friend. Lucas is the only person I share everything with, my workouts, school stuff, even the dumbest things in my daily life. Tired, yawning, I went to my contacts to send him the photo. But instead of tapping on Lucas, I selected Tyler Monroe. It took a full 1 minute and 45 seconds for me to realize my colossal mistake. I sent the wrong gym selfie to Tyler. And it wasn't just any photo. It was a side view shot, where my abs were clearly visible, along with my form-fitting workout pants. Not exactly nude, but suggestive enough to make someone think. I panicked. Immediately, I hit the delete message icon. But right then, the blue check mark turned red, indicating the message had been read. Crap, Tyler had seen it. I collapsed onto my bed, my heart pounding. I could only hope Tyler wouldn't reply, or would just forget about the whole thing. But my life has never been that lucky. Right as I deleted the photo, a text from Tyler appeared on my screen. Why the delete? You look good. My eyes bulged at my phone. This was definitely going to be a very long night. I stared at the text from Tyler, feeling like my heart had just dropped into my stomach. Why the delete? You look good. Seriously? He actually saw the picture. And instead of ignoring it, he complimented me? I was freaking out. My head was spinning with a ton of terrible scenarios. Tyler would tell the whole school? He would tease me in front of everyone? He would think I was into him? No, 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 I couldn't let this happen. I gripped my phone tightly, my heart beating like a drum. Finally, I decided not to reply. Just pretend like nothing happened. Yeah, if I ignored him, Tyler would forget about this quickly, right? I tossed and turned in bed, wondering why I even had Tyler's number in my contacts. Then I remembered, a few months ago, when the school held a big cultural event, Tyler and I were put in the same group to manage the show. We had worked together for a whole month, texting back and forth to coordinate things. Although we weren't close, I had to admit that Tyler wasn't just attractive. He was also incredibly responsible and smart. Actually, I used to have a small crush on him, but I quickly dismissed it. I can't be into guys. It was just admiration, right? The next day, I went to school with one plan: avoid Tyler at all costs. I kept my head down as I walked through the hallway, weaving through the crowd of students, just hoping not to run into him. But fate seemed to enjoy messing with me. Just as I entered the cafeteria, a voice called out behind me, "Hey, Liam." I froze. Slowly turning around, I met Tyler's mischievous gaze. He was leaning against a table, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. "You sure you're not trying to impress me?" I could feel my face burning up. "No, it was a mistake," I retorted immediately. Lucas, my best friend, was sitting next to me, looking at us with curiosity. He asked, "What picture?" Tyler and I simultaneously ignored him. Tyler shrugged. "Whatever. But if you have any more pictures you want to share, feel free." My jaw dropped, while Tyler winked and left. Lucas waited for Tyler to get far away before turning to me, lowering his voice to ask, "Liam, what did you do?" I buried my head in my arms on the table. I sent Tyler a sensitive selfie. Lucas's eyes widened. "What? You accidentally flirted with the school's bad boy?" After that encounter, I thought everything would end. But no. Tyler started popping up in my life more and more. He found ways to run into me in the hallway, sat next to me in the library, sent teasing texts. I didn't understand why Tyler was paying so much attention to me. And the worst thing was, I didn't hate it. A week after the incident, Tyler sent a text, "Meet me for a bit. Sandy's Cafe. After school. You owe me an explanation." I held my phone, struggling with myself for a moment, then texted back, "Okay." After school, I went to the cafe, finding Tyler sitting in a corner, his hands clasped together, looking at me with a knowing smile. He waved me over, waited for me to sit down, and then asked directly, "Liam, are you sure you're not into guys?" I choked on my coffee. "Oh, of course not. I like girls, obviously." Tyler propped his chin on his hand, observing me. "Then why does your face turn red when I tease you?" I froze up. He chuckled. "Just so you know, I find you very interesting." I didn't know how to respond. Things got worse when Tyler kissed me. It was a spontaneous moment. We were talking. He was looking at me intently. And then suddenly he leaned in, gently placing his lips on mine. My mind went blank. But what really shocked me was, I didn't push him away immediately. I could feel the warmth from his lips. And for a moment, I liked it. But then the fear hit. I pushed Tyler away hard, gasping for air. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. Tyler frowned. "I thought you wanted." "No, don't project your feelings onto me," I blurted out, my voice shaking. "You're just taking advantage of that stupid mistake." Tyler was stunned. For a brief moment, I saw hurt flash across his eyes. Then his face turned cold. "Get out of here, Liam." I didn't know why I said those words, but I turned and ran, feeling like I had just lost something important. For the next few days, I didn't see Tyler anymore. He didn't tease me, didn't text. He had disappeared from my life. And I hated that feeling. Lucas sighed. "Liam, you're running from the truth. If you don't have feelings for Tyler, then why are you so miserable?" I didn't know. But there was one thing I knew for sure. I missed Tyler. And I couldn't let things end like this. 3 days later, I still hadn't seen Tyler anywhere. Not a single text. Not a single tease. Nothing at all. It was as if he had never existed in my life. And the worst part was, I hated that feeling. I lay sprawled on my bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, my phone resting on my chest. I had opened Tyler's messages dozens of times, but didn't have the courage to text anything. Lucas came to visit me in the evening, bringing a bag of chips and a bottle of soda. He looked at me, then said bluntly, "You look like you're going through a breakup." I sat up immediately. "I'm not going through a breakup. I'm just feeling guilty." Lucas sat down next to me, throwing me a doubtful look. "Guilty? For what? Because you kissed Tyler or because you hurt him?" I opened my mouth to argue, but then froze. Why was I feeling this way? Why did not seeing Tyler make me so anxious? Lucas sighed, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Liam, be honest with yourself. If you don't have any feelings for Tyler, then why are you so miserable?" I swallowed. "I don't know. Do you want to apologize to him?" I nodded immediately. "Then do it, before it's too late." It took me all night to compose a text message to Tyler. Finally, after dozens of rewrites, I hit send. "Tyler, I'm sorry for the things I said. Can you meet me for a bit?" I stared at the screen, my heart beating fast. 3 little dots appeared, a sign that Tyler was typing. I held my breath, but then, the dots disappeared. Tyler had ignored my message. I felt like someone had just thrown a rock into my chest. The next day, I looked for Tyler all over campus. I spotted him on the basketball court, talking to a group of friends. He looked perfectly fine, laughing and joking as if nothing had ever happened between us. That made me furious. I walked quickly to stand in front of him, ignoring the curious gazes of those around me. "Tyler, we need to talk." Tyler looked up, his eyes icy. "Don't you think it's too late for that?" I swallowed hard, feeling like every word was stuck in my throat. "No, I didn't know how to face you. But I want to apologize." Tyler stared at me for a long, drawn-out moment. Then he crossed his arms, tilting his head. "All right. 5 minutes. But not here." We went to a corner of the campus with fewer people passing by. Tyler leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking at me as if he was judging me. "Talk." I took a deep breath. I really don't know what I'm doing anymore. "Tyler, I don't hate you. I didn't intentionally hurt you. I'm just scared." "Scared of what?" Tyler asked, his voice softening. I clenched my hands. "I'm scared if I like you. My parents will never accept me. I'm scared the whole world will change. I'm scared that everything I've ever believed in will fall apart." Tyler was silent for a few seconds. Then he stepped closer to me. "Liam, you don't have to rush to label yourself. But you have to be honest with yourself. Do you like me?" I looked into his eyes. And in that moment, I knew the answer. Yes. Tyler didn't smile, didn't tease. He just nodded gently. "That's enough." Tyler stepped forward, wrapping his arms around me. For the first time in a long time, I felt relieved. He patted my back gently, his voice warm. "Just be a little braver. Everything will be okay." I nodded, holding him tighter. I knew that there were still a lot of challenges ahead. But at least, I didn't have to face them alone anymore. 2 weeks later, I decided to talk to my parents. Dinner that night was tense. I gripped my fork tightly, trying to keep my voice calm. "Mom and Dad, I have something to tell you." My dad put down his knife. My mom looked up at me. I took a deep breath, then said, "I'm seeing someone, a guy." The air in the room was silent. My mom's eyes widened. Are you kidding, Liam? My dad didn't say anything, but I could clearly see the disappointment on his face. I clenched my hands. I don't know if I'm gay or not, but I know I like Tyler. And I don't want to hide that anymore. My mom turned to my dad. Her face panicked. Say something. My dad was silent for a long time. Then sighed. Liam, we need time. My mom nodded slightly, still unable to fully accept it. I took a breath, my heart feeling lighter. They weren't happy, but they didn't kick me out. And that, to me, was a good start. That night, I went to Tyler's house. When he opened the door, I didn't say anything, just stepped inside and hugged him tightly. They need time, I whispered. Tyler stroked my back gently, smiling. Then we'll wait. I chuckled, feeling warmer than ever. After that night, I started to feel a little more relieved. I was no longer afraid of looking in the mirror and wondering who I was. But that didn't mean things had become easy. The next morning, when I walked into school, I felt like the whole world was watching me, even though in reality nobody cared about my and Tyler's business besides me. Tyler hadn't made anything public, but he and I also weren't avoiding each other anymore. As I walked into class, Tyler was already there, his eyes sweeping over me calmly as if nothing had ever happened between us. But as I passed his seat, he reached out and lightly touched my wrist, a small gesture. But enough for me to know that he was here. And he wasn't going anywhere. Lucas sat next to me, looking at us with a teasing glance. You two made up? He whispered. I nodded, unable to hide the small smile on my lips. Good, Lucas said, then slapped my back hard. Now we need to worry about today's test before Tyler steals all your attention. I laughed, feeling like for the first time in weeks, I could breathe a sigh of relief. Even though my parents hadn't reacted too negatively when I told them about Tyler. There was still an underlying tension in the house. My mom talked to me less. My dad seemed normal, but I could tell he was trying to avoid bringing up the topic. I knew they needed time, but waiting wasn't easy. One evening, my mom suddenly called me down to the kitchen while I was studying. She placed a cup of tea in front of me, then sat down in the chair opposite. Liam, she began, her voice slow. Are you sure you like that boy? I looked into my mom's eyes. There was a little anxiety, a little fear, but also concern. I took a deep breath. Yes. My mom was silent for a moment, then sighed. I just want you to be happy. But I don't know how to accept this. I smiled sadly. I know. I don't expect you to accept it right away. But at least, I hope you don't hate me for it. My mom didn't say anything. But after a moment, she reached out over the table, squeezing my hand lightly. It wasn't complete acceptance, but it was progress. After much hesitation, I decided that it was time to introduce Tyler to my family. Are you sure about this? Tyler asked when I suggested he come over for dinner. I nodded. They need to meet you to understand that you're not some evil person trying to ruin my life. Tyler chuckled. So should I wear armor or something? I nudged his shoulder lightly. Just be yourself. That day, I was so nervous I couldn't even eat lunch. When Tyler walked into my house, the atmosphere in the room immediately changed. My dad stared at him intently. My mom seemed a little flustered. But Tyler was completely confident. He shook my dad's hand firmly, smiled at my mom, and even complimented her cooking. Throughout dinner, he chatted politely, not being too intimate with me to avoid making my parents uncomfortable. After Tyler left, my mom murmured, "He's not what I imagined." I raised an eyebrow. "What did you imagine?" She shook her head. "I don't know. But he's a good kid." I smiled. A few weeks later, when Tyler and I were sitting by the small lake in the park, he suddenly took my hand. "Are you still scared?" he asked. His voice gentle. I thought for a moment, then shook my head. "Not as much as before." Tyler squeezed my hand tighter. "I'm proud of you, Liam." I looked up at him, feeling strangely warm. Maybe things would never be completely easy. Maybe I would still have to face judgmental looks, doubts from my family, and uncertainties about the future. But I knew one thing. I didn't regret choosing this path. I smiled and leaned in to kiss him on the cheek. "Thank you, Tyler." After all, I realized that the definition of family wasn't just limited to what society imposed on us. Family was the people who loved us unconditionally, whether it was our parents, whether it was friends like Lucas, or a special someone like Tyler. A few months after coming out, my parents gradually became more comfortable with Tyler. They didn't completely support it, but at least they didn't object. And to me, that was enough to start with. One day, when Tyler and I were walking down the street, he suddenly turned to me and asked, "Do you ever think that all this started because of a selfie?" I laughed. "Yeah, a stupid selfie." Tyler smirked. "Not really. If it wasn't for it, do you think we could have gotten here?" I looked at him, then laughed. "Maybe you're right." We continued walking, hand in hand. On a sunny afternoon, life still held many challenges ahead. But I was ready to embrace them. Because now, I was no longer running from myself. And it all started with a selfie. Some mistakes may seem terrible, but sometimes, they're the turning point that brings us to something better. My story isn't just about a mistakenly sent picture. It's a journey to find myself. And if there's one thing I want to say to anyone who's feeling confused about themselves, it's, give yourself time, find people who love and support you, and most importantly, be brave enough to live true to your heart.